Okay, welcome back to Scales of Safety. My name's Pete Collins. By this point now, we're going to take you through how to answer a NEBOSH General Certificate question. So by this point now, you have read the scenario, you understand what's going on, and you're starting to tackle your questions. Now in this scenario, our first question that we've got is based on Section 7 of the Act. So, let's look at the question, break it down a little bit more. This is one that I've put into our cut system. And we said we dissect the question. It's likely that the injured worker and fellow workers, we talked about this previously, we can only talk about these two people. They may have breached some of their duties only as employees can we start to refer to. And it's got to be under the Act. Now it gives us a part here where it says Section 7 is what we're dealing with. Now, Section 7 of the Act in general is the duty of care to each other based on the acts and omissions of what you choose to do or fail to do. So generically there, it's about following the rules, it's about looking after each other, and it's about challenging each other. It's about making sure that if you see something and that's dangerous, an unsafe act or an unsafe condition, that you observe, interact, agree with that employee, what is being conducted is wrong, and then furthermore, you'd be expected then to inform the employer of this. So this could be also, tampering with equipment, defacing equipment, not using the right tool for the right job. And these are some of the basic provisions of Section 7. It's about the duty of employees looking after each other. So that's just a generic overview of what is Section 7. Now, as it says here, it says you should support your answer where applicable. I tell my learners not to do that. They've got to try and pull them out from the scenario. That's where you're going to likely to score a lot of marks. Now, 10 points is what we're looking at. We're looking for 10 separate things from this scenario that we can use from the injured party and the fellow worker. These were the two people that were operating the compactor. So what I've done is I've gone out and I've gone into the scenario and I've selected a few parts here. One was they were told not to operate the compactor while it was dangerous and it had been subject to a previous enforcement visit. I then went and chose another one later down here as well around it was jammed, and then they went to reach inside to clear the jam, which again is a breach, putting themselves at risk there. And then the one about signs as well. There was signs saying they're authorised workers only, and these guys were pretty much put to work. As it says here, they're immediately put to work in a busy area where they're needed most, such as stacking shelves and transporting empty cardboard boxes. Again, they're told not to operate the compactor. So what we're going to do now is have a look at specifically answering this question. So I've put here the cut from the scenario, but again, we can't just copy and paste this in. We're going to have to give an insight to it of applying our point, relevance, evidence, and prune. So I use the dictate function when I do, because I just find it just goes better off the tongue here. So I would use this function, I would say, ignoring signs. Signs indicated by the requirement authorization were present. However, the learners did not acknowledge this and continued to use the compactor. Talking as if it was you there, so there we go. So that would say there, employees they breached an instruction by the employer. There we go. So I would then put that in bold, and I put this something like that maybe. Delete repeated word. There you go. So just ignoring signs would be my point that I'm trying to make, and then I go in. Right. So I'm basically saying we could even tweak this a little bit more and say signs indicated by the requirement authorization were present. So we're present on the compactor. However, the employees did not acknowledge this and continued to use the compactor. They breached an instruction by the employer. And again, we could say this is again, hence breaching section 7B duty. There you go, and that's my answer ready to go now. And that will just be cut and put into the template. Let's have another go. So here's one that said that the compactor was jammed, and as it often did, and so immediately they opened it at the gate and they reached inside to clear the jam. So for this, my point is about reaching inside. So I would say reached inside. An unsafe act against operating procedures indicated risk of injury. This materialised of harm to the compactor operator. They have not protected themselves or followed procedure, breaching section 7A, 7B. Okay. So I might want to tweak it a little bit here. Reaching inside is my point. So you can see here with the dictate function, just be cautious of it as well. So that would read the operator conducted duties against operating procedures, indicated risk of injury. So you could say this resulted in injury. This materialised the harm of to the compactor operator. They've not protected themselves or followed procedure. So there we go. So that'd be my final point put in. You see, I've got it in bold here, and then I've gone down to put a little bit more meat on the bone by saying they've not protected themselves or followed procedure. Again, showing that we understand it, and we've quoted it there. From the enforcement visit. So the last one really is told that they were not to operate it. So the answer would read a little bit like this. It would say, told not to operate the compactor specifically. So that's the point I'm trying to make here. Again. Right, and it would say, you know, because again, I've got here, it was subject to an enforcement visit. So I would read on the lines of previous conclusion and enforcement visits resulted in a policy not to operate the compactor. However, the temporary workers ignored this. HSE action, breaching section 7B. So there we go, and there we are. So they were told not to operate the compactor specifically. Again, previous conclusion and enforcement visits resulted in a policy not to operate the compactor. However, the temporary workers ignored this. HSE action, breaching section 7B. So that's just some examples. And what we at there? Word count, 33 words. There you go. So that's really what you've got to do. And you've got to do that 10 times for that particular question. So as I said, guys, that's just to give you an insight on how we want that done. Now, you'll find quickly that this can take a long time to produce these answers. So you've got to do your groundwork. You've got to do your research off the back of it to really make sure that you're hitting all the criteria and requirements for the NEBOSH questions. So again, I just wanted to conclude that there for you. Quick sort of 10-minute video, show you how we're going to pull it out, put it in, and then put it into practice. Again, like, subscribe, and thank you. Pete Collins, Scouser Safety.